would now like to invite our speakers, Mr. Silas Singh, Divisional Director, Occupational Safety and Health Division, Ministry of Manpower, Singapore. Mr. Johan Atema, Managing Director, Brunei Shell Petroleum Co. Sendirian Berhad. Yang Mulia Dr. Shaikh Khalid bin Sheikh Haji Ahmad, Chairman Industry HSC Group Brunei and Serikandi Group of Companies. Yang Mulia Pengiran Aki Ismail Sufyan bin Pengiran Haji Ibrahim, the Chief Executive Officer, Standard Chartered Bank. Without further ado now, I would like to pass the mic to our lovely moderator, Yang Mulia YM Umi Khadijah. The mic is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, distinguished audience, ladies and gentlemen. It is truly a pleasure for me to be here today to moderate this session on psychosocial health and work, specifically on leadership commitment in shaping safe and healthy workplaces. So this topic today has become central to modern leadership because safe and healthy workplaces do not happen by chance. They are shaped by leadership behavior, leadership visibility, and the tone set from the top. Today we will move beyond theory and explore practical leadership realities across sector. I am joined today by these extraordinary leaders. To my left is Mr. Silas. So Mr. Silas is Singapore's Commissioner for Workplace Safety and Health since 2019. He also holds the concurrent position of Divisional Director of the Occupational Safety and Health Division, Ministry of Manpower, Singapore. Mr. Sen, who was instrumental in the development of Singapore's Workplace Safety and Health Act in 2006 and has extensive operational experience in prevention, engagement, enforcement, and investigation efforts. Over the course of his career, he has assumed various leadership roles, including Director of OSH Inspectorate, Director of Work Injury Compensation, and Deputy Executive Director of the Workplace Safety and Health Council. As Commissioner, he leads the SHD in achieving Singapore's WSH improvements guided by the WSH 2028 strategies. Okay, so next to Mr. Silas is Mr. Johan Atema. Mr. Johan Atema is the Managing Director of Brunei Shell Petroleum Company Sendirian Berhad from the 1st of August 2024. Before Brunei, he was the Managing Director for NAM JV in the Netherlands and Senior Vice President for Shell's upstream businesses in Germany and the Southern United Kingdom. With 30 years of service in Shell, Mr. Johan has diverse experiences in engineering, operations strategy, business improvement, and as asset manager in the Asia Pacific and Europe. This includes his key roles in Shell Malaysia, where he spent 8 years in Miri Sarawak during his early career in Shell. Prior to Shell, he worked for an engineering company and led projects in Pakistan, Venezuela, Slovakia, and Estonia, amongst others. Mr. Johan holds a master's degree of science in chemistry. He is married to Danielle, and they have 3 grown-up children. His passions include hiking, traveling, and eating out with his family. Right. Next up, we have Dr. Sheikh Khalid bin Sheikh Haji Ahmad. So he is the Chairman and Managing Director of Serikandi Group of Companies, as well as the Chairman for Industry HSC Group Brunei. With decades of leadership experience across catering, oil and gas, support services, engineering, logistics, retail, agriculture, and other business sectors, he has played an active role in shaping local enterprise development and workplace culture in Brunei Darussalam. His leadership has long emphasized discipline, operational excellence, safety, resilience, and people-centered management. Through Serikandi and Industry Agency Group, Dr. Sheikh Khalid has contributed to strengthening awareness of health, safety, and environmental standards across the industry. At this CEO Roundtable, he brings the perspective of a senior business leader on how leadership commitment can help create safer, healthier, and more supportive workplaces, including in addressing psychosocial health as well. Right, now we have Tuan Pemiran Aki Ismail Sofyan bin Pemiran Haji Ibrahim, who is currently the Chief Executive Officer of Standard Chartered Bank Brunei. Pemiran Aki joined Standard Chartered Bank in April 2012 as Head of Corporate Strategic Initiatives. In December 2016, he was appointed as Country Head. Global Banking, when he established the segment, significantly grew revenue and supported the government's priorities in attracting FDIs and diversifying the economy. In 2019, he was appointed Chief Executive Officer of Standard Chartered. Before joining Standard Chartered, he was Assistant Chief Executive Officer at the Brunei Economic Development Board, BEDB, overseeing foreign direct investment, investor relations, and the Chairman's office. He began his career with HSBC in retail banking and has extensive experience in major national strategic projects, business analysis, stakeholder and public relation, and marketing communication. He is active in various business associations and is currently a committee member of the Brunei Business Forum, BBBF, which he chaired from 2023 to 2026. And a member of Brunei Association of Banks. In January 2024, he was appointed to the APAC Business Advisory Council, ABAC, representing Brunei. He is a graduate of the University of Wales Institute, Cardiff, United Kingdom. So welcome to you all and thank you for being here. Okay, let us start. To end our discussion today, I would like to begin with a question that many organizations are still reflecting on today. Okay, in one sentence, what does a truly safe and healthy workplace mean to you as a leader? I will start with Mr. Silas and Mr. Johan.
Thank you, Puan Umi.
One sentence.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My one sentence response would be one that is characterized by a culture of care, a culture of trust, and a culture of prevention.
Thank you, Mr. Silas. Mr. Johan?
It feels like a banking university with a lot of students here. I was always sitting in the back of the
Yeah.
One sentence. When you're part of the team and you make a mistake, that you will not be criticized but supported.
Excellent. Can I now pass the mic to Dr. Sheikh, please?
Yeah, thank you. Right, at Serikandi group of companies, as a leader, so one sentence, it is a healthy workplace starts from leadership, behavior, communication, and the culture that we consistently demonstrate across all levels of our organization.
Thank you, Tuan Dr. Sheikh. Tuan Pemiran Aki, any additional thoughts on this?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you very much and very good afternoon, Salam Sejahtera. I'll just combine all the sentences that they just said, or just pick one of them. You know, it's going to be the same. But nevertheless, very important points. But my one sentence also, in addition to what my esteemed panelist has mentioned, is probably just to reiterate the employees should be treated with dignity and respect. Whether it's psychologically or physical, it must be secure. So that's the additional sentence.
Okay. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for the one sentence, and thank you for your cooperation. I think that's a very, very interesting perspective perspective that we had earlier on. We are listening to important well-being themes. What was mentioned by the panelists earlier was well-being. They're talking about performance and also leadership. Now let me build on that by shifting our focus slightly on the workplace realities. I think we all have experienced psychosocial health at workplace, whether it's good or not. But many organizations today still reward long hours, right? Do you all agree? Okay, I see nods. Many are also rewarding constant responsiveness, okay? When I text you at 11 p.m. at night and you respond to me at 11:01 or 11:02, okay, you are performing. Okay, relentless delivery, though on tight schedule or tight target, but you still can achieve. So that on its own is also something that needs to be discussed in this panel today. So although employee may appear to be, performing, high performing, but internally many are still emotionally exhausted. So to frame this discussion further, I'd just like to tap on the ILO data that was presented this morning, that almost about 840,000 deaths are reported due to a non-good psychosocial health at workplace. Okay, and the risk factors includes job strains, job insecurity, long working hours, imbalance between effort and rewards, as well as workplace harassment and bullying. With that content in mind, I would like to invite Mr. Johan to share his perspective from a leadership standpoint. How do you differentiate between healthy high performance and a culture that may unintentionally reward burnout? The mic is yours.
Yeah, and I'm honest in this answer. Because this is a dilemma. I sit here as a director of a major company because I was always responsible. I did work very hard, and I had all the manifestations you just described. So I would not be honest to say that you kind of need to work very hard to have a career. I mean, there's no substitute for it. There's no shortcut to it. You need to spend the hours, you need to be responsible, you need to take accountability. But that will never go away, right? That is just the truth. If you play in football at competitive level, you will need to train hard, you play hard, you need to be competitive. That is what it is. I think what has kept me sane, and I had plenty of problems in my life, but what kept me sane is that as long as the interpersonal relationships in the team are good, that helps a lot. I worked for 35 years. I have lost sometimes sleep. It never had to do with work, always had to do with a conflict with a colleague or a supervisor, etc. So what to me is really important in ESG is that we need to play to win. Brunei Petroleum is one of the most important companies in this country. We need to win because the country relies on us, right? Our nation is depending on the revenues we create. So we need to play the win, we need to be competitive, and we need to work hard. What is absolutely key in that game is that you play as a team, you try to support each other, that we don't create conflict, and that people that only perform but don't take care of their teammates will not be part of the team. That is a very difficult one.
Thank you for the response. I think that raises a good point on leadership behavior in workplaces and leadership commitment entirely. I'm going to sort of step back a bit and ask Dr. Shaikh. I mean, you have a lot of businesses and all. I'm sure you've encountered a lot of different behaviors in workplaces. What are the most significant psychosocial pressure facing your workforce today?
Yeah, as a chairman in the company, very important, I always ask the question, is our people organized by the work? And at the same time, also simply surviving by the workload. So of course, in Serikandi organization, we are beyond the business, F&B, oil and gas industries, like engineering and marine and other. So most of the pressures are very unavoidable.
Thank you for that. We're hearing similar thoughts on this. Let me now turn to banking, Tuan Pangeran Aki, where pressure is, they may look different, but really intense. So what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, thank you. I think banking, of course, a lot of colleagues in the industry, there's always KPI targets, you need to meet the targets. So there's a lot of pressure to meet the targets. When you look at healthy, high performance, yes, it is to compare to burnouts on, doing work, I think it's sustainable for high healthy performance compared to the burnouts because it's more short term. But at the end of the day, I think the pace of change, especially in the banking industry as well, is tremendous. With the world changing in digitalization, sustainability, I think there's a lot of areas that we really need to focus on employees. Just to add on, whilst us in the banking industry, and I'm sure in all the companies as well, there's a strategy for each organizations, but strategy alone does not deliver results. The people do. So that's how important the people are as assets to the company.
Thank you for highlighting the people aspect of it, and for also highlighting the performance of the people. How would you mitigate? You mentioned about digitalization and the impact to the banking sector. And I understand a lot of individuals needs to be reskilled because of this digitalization initiative. So how do you mitigate this work pressure, so to speak?
It's not an easy one, but again, I think there's a lot of elements that comes into play in this area. Perhaps, firstly, maybe you should. When now digitalization with AI coming in, I think to set clear priorities on where do we want to look into, putting in the workforce, the whole initiative, and also at the same time to be able to continuously train the people in areas that we want to redeploy them. For example, so I think just the proper planning, I think it's definitely important because the people aspect or people element are the ones that we'll need to carry forward. And, to put up, the pressure that, everywhere, everybody has pressure in all areas. But I think, and this is where the leaders come in as well, to be able to empower, to be able to listen, to be able to trust their colleagues is also another important element, to mitigate pressure.
All right. Perhaps I can bring Mr. Silas into this discussion. I believe your organization has also undergone some transformation over the years. How do you ensure, I think Tun Pangeran Aki mentioned about performance, sustainability. How do you ensure performance expectation remains sustainable during period of intense organization demand?
Thanks. That's a very hard question. Unfortunately, there's no magic bullet to this. Thinking through, just to add on to what has been mentioned, I think one thing where the leaders can do during periods of intense organization pressure is to be present with the staff, with the team. That you have to make them feel that we are all on the same team rather than us versus, me versus you. That your job is going to do this, settle this problem, that's not mine to settle. When that happens, I think straight away it creates a mistrust. But when the staff knows that the boss, the supervisor, the manager, the CEO, we are all on the same team, I think it helps a lot. Even when the going is hard. I remember, I think 6 years ago when COVID struck us, my team were kind of decimated, not by COVID, but basically we were pulled to do a lot of other things. It was an incredibly stressful moment, but yet I think we were able to pull together, largely because we recognize that we need to support one another, that we are really fighting this together as one team and not as very separate team. Of course, there are frictions along the way, but I think together, once you give that empowerment, you give that understanding to the staff, they will appreciate that we are doing this for a larger purpose, that they are not doing it alone. I think that's important for them to understand.
Thank you very much, Mr. Silas. That really highlights the realities of today's workplace pressure, which is very much human, actually, where people feel, people experience, or rather employee experience, they behave in a certain way and ultimately perform in a certain way. So this is where, as highlighted by the panelists, leadership commitment becomes more visible. So I'd like to sort of talk more about leadership commitment, zooming our lens to one of the most discussed topics globally today, which is psychological safety. I believe everyone in this room knows what psychological safety is. However, many employees still hesitate to speak openly, challenge decision, or raise concern. Now, my question is to Tuan Dr. Sheikh Khalid. In your experience, what truly creates psychological safety in organizations beyond policies?
As a leader, we must understand during the period of intense organization, demand is very high at this time. I mean, when we are expanding the business. So we have a lot of I would say increasing in the operational demands. So we need the people to on that. So because most of the operations are not working with machines, they all with manpower. And at the same time also, how do we work out the work-life balance challenges? That's another thing. Then last not least, mental fatigue, and as well as impact the performance of the person.
Right, interestingly, you mentioned about mental fatigue. There is such thing as decision fatigue. So this happens to leaders in particular. So perhaps, Mr. Johan, if you can share some thoughts on decision fatigues and how leaders, in a way, what are the good practices to manage this decision fatigue?
First of all, make sure that what you don't control, you should not worry too much about. So try to prioritize where your decision is required, but also where not. Second of all, you have to delegate a lot of things. And it's not to discount the accountability, but with the team around you about the decisions you shouldn't take. Somebody else can probably do that. And finally, what really is important to me, and it is also bringing back psychological safety, I know how to make mistakes. And people are allowed mistakes. And part of psychological safety is that, and self-compassion is that, if you allow your organization to learn and make mistakes, which is very normal, and you allow yourself to make mistakes and be self-forgiving, then it becomes a lot lighter. This is again not easy because I'm not strong in self-compassion. Most of us did not develop a self-compassion that is quite difficult. But it's really important because then the decision becomes far less heavy, because if you're allowed to take a decision and after a while you need to take another decision because the decision was wrong, but you say, that's part of who I am and I can make mistakes, then it becomes less heavy. Maybe on Psycho's answer on psychological safety. We really have a challenge there in DSP, especially foreign workers, people who come from Bangladesh or India and other places. They are concerned that when they make mistakes offshore in a platform that they might be fired and sent home and their whole livelihood is at stake. for them to come out and talk openly about a mistake is a real thing. Also for Brunei and myself, but that group of people feel very, very comfortable. It's quite an ordeal to talk about that. And we are grappling with that. We haven't fixed it one yet. It's really difficult.
Yeah, touching on what was discussed in the earlier session, session 1, they talk about vulnerabilities, on how, per your point, Mr. Johan, how employees, they don't talk about their vulnerabilities. So in that, on that note, how do leaders know employees genuinely feel safe rather than simply being silent? So how does leaders know this? Because normally, in the meetings, if you're silent, it means that you agree, correct? So how does leaders troubleshoot employees who are deemed as silent? Anyone can take this question up? Mr. Silas? Thank you.
I have two staff sitting among the audience.
Very silent.
I think in a meeting setting, silence is not necessarily a good thing. I think especially in Asian context, as opposed to the Western world, where if you have issue, a lot of people are talking. But I think in Asian context, they tend to be more silent. But I think that this is the role where, as leaders, we encourage the voices to come out. So, in my work, where there are sort of presentations and proposals come out and have got quite significant impact on the industry. So, for whatever policy, laws that are formulated, we go through that process of discussion. And to me, it's extremely scary if the proposal comes and approved, and then there's no voices. It's actually, you think about it, it's actually very scary for that. So we do need to encourage people to speak up. And how to go about doing it, I think it's always a challenge for the leaders. For myself, it's always, my approach is really just being open and being approachable, whether as a during the meeting or as just a person, so I'm very friendly with my staff. The word perhaps I would use is just being authentic in our relationship. And the issue of being authentic is not about just being nice to people all the time. You can't be managing staff that are poor performance, where you need to be authentically harsh to the person. So I think we do need to set the tone, and so to me, being authentic is important, and I hope my staff can attest to that. Thankfully, I just had a 360 feedback report, and many of the staff have affirmed what I just said. So you just have to trust me that my staff back me up.
Oh boy. Okay, I'm going to turn to Tuan Pangeran Aki now. So we had this conversation. I remember and I understand that trust is a key success factor in your organization, and you mentioned it earlier as well. To encourage a healthy psychosocial work environment, can you please share with us here how is this made possible?
Okay, thanks. So I do agree with Mr. Silas in terms of that. The openness, the trust with the employees. But how do you? How do you enable employees, for example, to be able to speak up? So silent, whether you said Umi is agreed, or it could be also not agreed because you're silent. So in Standard Chartered, for example, we've created a platform for employees, for staff, colleagues, to be able to voice out anonymously without anybody knowing. So they can speak up anything. So we have this speak up channel, what we call a speak up channel. And we really, really encourage all of our employees globally, not only in Brunei, to speak up if there's anything that they feel they want to speak up, whether it's a positive speak up or a negative speak up, we highly encourage. Mr. Silas also mentioned about feedback report. So feedback is also another element. On an annual basis, we do have what we call a My Voice survey for our employees. So My Voice survey is another platform, another tool for employees to be able to, again, sound out, speak out what they think about the bank. And the My Voice survey is not necessarily just around targets, around productivity, but it's also the work environment, it's also work-life balance, it's also everything under the sun, as an employee, where you experience in an organization. So these are some of the platforms or tools to encourage employees. And all of these are anonymous because we want to genuinely, help the employees, help the colleagues to give that feedback, to speak up, and encourage them that we are creating a safe space for people to, for the organization.
Thank you, Tuan Pangeran, for sharing this. I think a safe space, the word safe space, is actually what employees like to hear. And more often than not, some employees just don't believe that there is a safe space. So what I'm hearing just now is that distinction is very important because silence is often misunderstood as alignment, when in reality it may reflect fear or disengagement or lack of trust to the employees or to the management, vice versa. So I think one important takeaway here is that silence should not be mistaken for alignment. Yeah, and it is the leader's responsibility to check on their employees, whether them being silent is probably retaliation or something they don't agree with, and try to encourage the employees to speak up. At this point, it is valuable to bring the workforce voice into the conversation. We asked our audience earlier on to share their perspective on psychosocial challenges within their own workplace. So to encourage meaningful audience participation and provide real-time insight into current workplace experience, there were two interactive engagement questions shared to all the audience. Let us take a moment to reflect on what is emerging or the outcome from those responses and hear how our panelists interpret these sentiments from a leadership perspective. Okay, on question 1, what is one word that best describes the biggest psychosocial challenge in your workplace? So this is also, I've asked this question to Dr. Shaikh earlier on. I'm just going to pick the top 3 perhaps, okay? The one in green is management. So this is perceived as the biggest psychosocial challenge in your workplace. And number 2 is pressure. And number 3 is workload. Now I would like to invite our panelists to reflect on this audience sentiment from your leadership perspective. Why do you think these challenges are becoming more prominent today? And what role do leaders play in shaping a psychologically healthier workplace and culture? Shall I start with Mr. Johan, please?
Yeah, I don't know whether it has gone worse. I think, well, it's changed. Micromanagement for sure is listed. That would make anyone stressed. Right? It doesn't matter. It is not bad if somebody tells you what to do. It is bad if somebody tells you what to do it, how to do it, when to do it, etc. So I think people don't typically mind to work hard, and workload was mentioned, but they do mind if you then box them in and they get constantly checked out and checked in around what they're doing. And I think management in itself is needed, but manage the work, don't micromanage the people, give them space. The other one was workload, and that's an interesting one, because if you let people enjoy what they're doing, workload suddenly disappears. I think we all have hobbies. I used to have a hobby when I was younger, that I would like to repair my car. I was mechanic, right? So I could still fix it. Nowadays you can forget about it. It's all electronic. But I would spend like 8 hours on the Saturday below my car fiddling around. That didn't feel like workload. Why not? It was on a Saturday, so my free day. Why was it not workload? Because I enjoyed what I was doing and I wanted to do it. So workload becomes a lot less load if people feel appreciated, if they have some level of control about the work they do. Then the number of hours don't matter. The number of hours of work only matter when you don't control it and when you don't feel appreciated. But micromanagement, listen, you can get me, I would resign if somebody starts to micromanage me. It is a terrible thing to do to people, and you have to realize it. So give them space and let them enjoy it.
Thank you for the perspective. So Dr. Shen, would you like to take this up?
Yeah, okay, thank you. From my perspective, for us employees, may not always expect leaders, to have all the answers immediately. So somehow, but they expect the leaders to remain, and we just have to listen, then communicate, and active listening to them, and also support during the time of some uncertainty. So, but we have also to delegate to our middle management that the important thing that they continue to emphasize and support the workers itself, so that they can have an open conversation, communication throughout that level.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that psychosocial challenges are often not an isolated issue. So it links with the leadership commitment, leadership behavior, job design, employees' experience, all that. What's important is, we have all this here. This is the response from audience. What's important is to acknowledge these challenges and what organization can do to create a psychological, healthier, and more sustainable workplace. Now let's move on to question number 2. Okay, question number 2. In your opinion, does leadership in your organization genuinely prioritize employees' well-being? So we have about almost 200 respondents, and 107 of them, or 8 and moving up, mentioned that yes. So this is very positive response, although 87 almost responded as no. So there's a mixed feeling here. Yes, I think, oh no.
It's getting worse.
Yeah, it's getting worse. Okay, let's just take it as a yes, okay? So yes, meaning it's good to know that, Brunei is acknowledging this, acknowledging that psychosocial health at workplace is important in workplaces. And no, not necessarily negative, but a no also means that we need to look inwards, look into our organization. What are we doing wrong? What can be improvised? Okay, there's opportunity to this. Okay, please, please, Mr. Silas.
I was kind of struck and remember a story which I wanted to relate to you. Just in case you think that management like us micromanage you, our bosses will sometimes also micromanage us. So several years ago, I was involved in this crisis management. I won't go into the details, but what I remember was this. My boss sent me, actually it was not my direct boss, it was my boss' boss, so 2 plus 2 up. He sent me an email at about 11 8:30 or so, quite close to midnight. And in that email he asked, Silas, can you get ready all this information, ABCD, for all the people that are involved, which is actually quite extensive to do. And it's close to midnight. In order for me to get that information, I had to activate my team, turn on the computer, do this, do that. You guess my response? How many of you think that I actually activated my stuff? No, right? I saw the email, I closed my laptop, and I went to bed. Bear in mind, that's not all the story. Next morning, we were supposed to meet. His instruction was all this information for the meeting at 9 a.m. the next morning. I was like, okay, I'll just go in and tell him, sorry, boss, cannot get the data in time, right? And then, so we go on discussing, right? And then he said, he started micromanaging me. Silas, if they do this, you do that. If you do A, you do B. If you do C, you do E. I was like, at some point, okay, boss, I understand the direction. If I can spend, and I told him bravely, this one is career-ending move. I told him, if I spend the next 2 hours solving the problem, do you still need the answer to all the questions that you ask? Then he looked at me, if you can solve, then I don't need. Okay, then can you leave me alone for the next 2 hours to solve the problem, and I'll report to you 2 hours later. Then he looked at me, okay, I give you 2 hours. Oh, thankfully I survived, and I'm still sitting here today. But I think this is the part, this is not sort of bragging, but it's really as leaders, which I believe all of you are as well, that sometimes when we are put in a situation, we have to make certain call and stand up for what we believe is right. So in this case, I really felt that, I really believe that, look, they wanted all the information with the view to solve the problem. But if I can solve the problem for the boss, then actually, we relieve so much stress for the staff. Imagine if I had to activate my staff at midnight just to get all the information, it will be hell. Granted, I understand it's a crisis, but again, at the end of the day, we do our risk management. I'll say, in that case, I practice what I preach. Right? And I think that's important. That's where authentic leadership comes from. Right? I thought I'd share that for the audience. Well, sharing this. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Silas. What I can pick up from your sharing just now is leadership courage. As a leader, and I believe every one of us in this room are leaders in our own remits, we should have a courage to say, no, or say maybe, or delay certain things. But again, this requires certain competency. And the second point that I would like to highlight is also, as per what Mr. Silas mentioned, that yes, he is a leader, but I think psychosocial health at workplace is a collective responsibilities. It's not just the leaders, it's everyone in the organization that can make it happen. Okay? So would any one of the panel like to add on?
I'd like just to share on this matter. Thank you. The well-being. I mean, we had also some incident over a few years. So, sharing some incident. We're talking about accident. So I think Mr. Johan also visited us to our yard, and we had one guy who is DIP, which has a broken leg in offshore, and until today he's still be working in the company. So we really take care of him. We do hospitalization, put in a proper, so-called medical treatment, things like that. Now he's still carrying the job. See, so we have to show that our commitment as an organization, because we have many people working there, so that we have to take care. So we also have one local who has cut his finger. Now we made the claim, which is to the insurance company. At the same time, we do the treatment. Then we train him. Then he's now still be working in the company. This is how we show our leadership, that our commitment towards to continue for the human rights. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing, Dr. Sheikh. I think this builds upon trust. So your employees really trust the leadership in your organization. Tan Pangeran Aki, would you like to add on?
Yes, thank you. So it's a very good learning from what Mrs. Silas was sharing the story, and I think it again relates to, the learning that relates to being a leader. For me is that perhaps empowerment is key as well. And it relates to trust, right? You have to trust your employee, empower them to be able to do the job. So, I just wanted to add on that bit, but if I can just comment on the well-being aspect of organizations. So, I just want to share from a Standard Chartered Bank point of view that employees' well-being is one of the super high focus for us. We are very, very focused and strong in our diversity and inclusion, what we call it D&I, so diversity inclusion, and it focuses on employees' well-being. And little things does make a difference in terms of the well-being, the benefits that we give to our employees. I just give you some example. So 2 years ago, after the pandemic, we made working from home permanent, a permanent fixture. It's not only just because of the pandemic, but we made it a permanent fixture. And, we make sure that employees have the flexibility as well. Because we focus on, obviously, the results, the productivity works. And it's not only just about desktop hours, right? Being on the desk for hours. So that's one angle. Another simple angle as well is that I would like to share is giving maternity leaves, for example. I'm giving maternity leaves for Standard Chartered. You won't, it's 5 months maternity leave, 5 months globally, including Standard Chartered Brunei. But that's not all. A year and a half ago, we also, because of strong diversity and inclusion belief, we also gave paternity leave 5 months. It sounds great, but as a leader, sometimes it can be a headache to manage. But nevertheless, that's just part of the well-being that we do. And again, these are part and parcel. There's a lot more. We do have a lot of mental health tools that we give to our employees. In areas using AI to be able for them to use that platform to help them in case of pressure, stress, and all that kind of thing. So I'm just saying that the well-being, little bits of well-being of employees are very, very important. To be able to deliver results.
I see if you be a speech star. Forget about it. Don't even ask. You're in an age, okay, so I think this question is quite binary and there might be a lot behind it, so it's not easy to interpret, but if it's true that half of people think, hey, in the end, my organization doesn't care whether my well-being is okay, they care more about performance, that's quite scary, right? That would be really sad, but again, that would be maybe a too simplistic answer to what we see there. There is one truth though, and that might be typical of BSP, but probably it's not. We have most of the times in history promoted people to team lead positions not based on people skills, but on technical skills or years of experience and all kinds of criteria, how smart you were intellectually, and not necessarily was the key criterion, hey, is that person a real good people's manager. We use different selection criteria. So to this day, we have people in our organization that need to lead teams that have no training in it, that doesn't come natural to them, etc. And that is a bit of a dilemma. So we have set a program 2 days, and every team meeting BSP goes through it, where you learn how to lead a team, and majority of this program is about how to build trust. And so we do a bit of catch-up work there, but we did find out that you could get quite high up in BSP, whilst you were quite socially not that strong. And that, of course, creates then people confusion or issues, miscommunication, etc. So we are retraining quite a lot of team leaders. What you wish for is that you pick team leaders that have socially very strong skill and have good team leaders that aim for the past.
Firstly, thank you, Bernanke, and congratulations to Standard Chartered Bank. 5 months, everybody. Okay, I think, thank you for sharing those important points, I think Mr. Johan as well. Again, what I'm hearing is leadership courage. So leadership courage in making decision builds trust amongst the employees. So this is possibly one of the things that an organization should consider when making certain decision. Okay, let's move on. I don't think I have a lot of time. I think I have about 10-15 minutes. But two most important questions that I'd like to ask the panel here. One is on leadership visibility. How important is leadership visibility and empathy during times of uncertainty? And how do you ensure your senior, and this is very, very important, how do you ensure your senior and middle management supports healthy workplaces consistently? Well, the gentleman here is talking about, encouraging psychosocial health at workplace. There's also a layer, your managerial layer, who supposedly share the same sentiment. Okay, employees normally remember the decisions that a leader or leaders make, but also they remember how leadership behaves. So on that sense, let us hear from the panel here. What are your thoughts on managing your middle management in sharing the same aspiration as you? And how do you mitigate in case there are different perspectives on this matter?
Okay, maybe I can start first. Okay, all right. Perhaps I can start. No, firstly, I think it's absolutely critical to be able to be visible. I mean, as a leader, to not only uncertain times, but in any times, to be honest, but more critical in uncertain times. I mean, we've gone through the pandemic as an example again, right? But I think the element of being visible is, how do we do that? I think constant engagement, very simple initiatives that the leaders, I mean, for us, including my management team, for what we do is we do monthly huddles, we do town halls. Recently, I did a town hall to all the staffs in Brunei, I mean, Standard Chartered Brunei, and I visited each and every branch, I visited each and every unit, talked to them, relay, the key, and share with them key updates and key messages, and hear from them if they have any feedback or any questions around. So to be able to constantly engage them is not only one time, but constantly engage them is important for that reassurance, in terms of visibility is one thing, but I think that reassurance by the staff on how we're progressing, how business progressing, the team's progressing, the employees progressing. So I think those are just some of the simple areas that we constantly do, and not just like once a year kind of thing. I think it's important to constantly engage, even for 30 minutes coffee engagement with different teams, bring the middle managers together. I think it's important.
Again, trust is quite prominent in this discussion. Doctor, would you like to add on your perspective? No? Mr. Johan?
Yeah, first of all, visibility is all important, and I think also approachability, in a sense that you need to be, for me it's really important to be low key, that when I, for example, we have offshore platforms, when I go there, I don't dress up, I dress down, try to be really pretty humble, try to change the conversation and create some intimacy with those people. So that's really important. I already mentioned we have leadership programs which is all about trust equation and how you create trust. We have an anonymous survey every year, so all the BSP staff every year fill in how they rate their team leader with very specific questions, and we will follow up. If you're bottom quartile, then you'll get notified that you need to have the training. If you're 2 years bottom quartile, you get quite an intense coaching. If you're 3 year bottom quartile, we typically look at making changes. Because if you're 3 years in a row bottom quartile to your team rates you as not a good team leader, then some intervention has to happen. It doesn't mean firing people, it just means that clearly this is not a good fit and we need to do something. Final answer is role modeling. You can talk to your middle management like you want, but you need a role model behavior that you want them to display.
Okay, so what's clear from the discussion today is that empathy, leadership visibility, and honest communication are essential to today's leadership capabilities. Leaders need to have honest conversation. Honest conversation is a very rare and difficult thing to do nowadays. So this brings us to a more sensitive but necessary conversation on leadership courage. It's on toxic high performance and the real cost of tolerating harmful behavior. So one of the most difficult leadership realities today involve managing individuals who deliver strong business results but negatively impact team morale or psychological safety. This is what we call toxic high performers. Again, tapping on your experience, Mr. Johan, perhaps you can share some insights on how high-risk environments such as the oil and gas can poor psychosocial health become a physical safety issue if a toxic employee is part of the team? And how, if you can share, how can this be mitigated? Thank you.
Yeah, first of all, so on the person that performs really, really well but is toxic, that cannot be tolerated. It's as simple as that, because you might win the game, you're going to lose the competition with that person. It's not sustainable, right? It might be in a moment that person might really deliver, but in the long run, that person will compromise the company, the institute that you want to be. And I just gave a great example of a person in a football analog who did it, Alex Ferguson of Manchester United. He was, well, sorry for the Liverpool fans. I'm Ajax, so I'm neutral. So he was 25 years trainer of Liverpool. He sold his best player when that player misbehaved. So he sold Ronaldo, he sold Jaap Stam, he sold Van Nistelrooy, he even sold Beckham. Whilst these players were really, really good, but they behaved in a way that he felt was not part of the culture that he wanted, and he sold them always in time, and that's why that club, that institute, Manchester, it lasted for 25 years on the highest level. And that is the same with BSP. If we would have a player who's really, really good, but toxic, I can win that day, I can win that year maybe even, but for the next 10 years he will compromise what we are after. So that would be, to me, key. What was your second question? I forgot it, sorry.
How do you mitigate it?
Yeah, well, we would intervene. I would intervene and listen. Some people get confused. I make mistakes. So if you're so driven, so performance driven, that you are injuring other people, you might not even know. So you need to have coaching. And first, you have to believe also that person has good intentions. So talk to that person first. Try to intervene. Try to go. Don't give up immediately. But if that is a very consistent behavior and that person doesn't correct him or herself, you need to say farewell. You just need to intervene. The team is bigger than the person. That is always true.
Excellent sharing. Mr. Silas, would you like to share your perspective on this?
I couldn't agree more with Johan here, that the team is greater than the individual. I suppose I would just also add one minor point is that when we call out the behavior, call out the person, I think we do it in a respectful manner from a position of care, trying to set the person up for success, rather than trying to pinpoint, hey, why you like that, why you make trouble for me, kind of do not go down the path of witch hunting. Of course, if there are, as a consequence of whatever behavior, there are adverse outcome, then it goes to the point of being accountable. Right? You created a mess, then you have to be answerable for it. Right? That's quite separate from the team dynamics. Nothing adverse has happened, but it's just the team is not working out. The way to go about doing it, I think you need to talk to both sides of the house as well. Right? So that's something that happened before. Just during lunch, I was talking to my staff and asked them for their assessment. Maybe because I'm a boss, so is our organization toxic? Thankfully, not so. But at the end of the day, there will always be some issues. I think amongst colleagues, some people were a bit more show-offy. Some will do their work quietly but never show, and then they feel that they are being sort of sidestepped. Right? I think issues like this happen. It does not necessarily mean that it is toxic, but nevertheless, I think if it left alone and not addressed, I think it can lead to something worse. So as leaders, I've always said that we also need to put our antenna up very high, to be aware of what's happening. And I think there's one thing I would say, work in progress for me. When I was middle management, my antenna was I think higher. Now, as the senior management, my antenna is cut short because I have to put one extra antenna to look at all my big bosses on top. Right? So my bandwidth for my antenna for the staff is lesser. Right? So I then have to rely on my other staff to feedback to me. Right? Sometimes, in organization, there are a lot of gossip and a lot of, hey, do you know this person is dating that person? Do you know this and that? This person is transferring here and there. Sometimes they know it before I know it. Is that true? Yeah. But it happens. Right? But my point is, I think as leaders, we do need to have the ability to sense make, not just, I think, the bosses, but also, I think, staff on the ground. I thought I end with that. Thanks.
Very, very interesting point. So the discussion clearly highlights that prioritizing psychological health often requires difficult conversation. Difficult value-based decision, especially when results and behavior are misaligned. So to leaders, leadership values become more visible, particularly when difficult decisions need to be made. Okay, what time is it? I'm just mindful of the time. Okay. In the interest of time, I'll need to bring our discussion to a close. While we may not be able to explore details on every themes in depth, today's discussion or conversation has clearly surfaced several important messages. We've heard that psychological health is not simply about policies or programs. It is deeply shaped by leadership behavior, organizational culture, and how people experience work on a daily basis. We were also being reminded that performance and well-being are not competing priorities. In fact, sustainable performance is only possible, as highlighted by Tony Johan earlier on, is only possible when employees feel safe, supported, and trusted, especially during periods of pressure and change. Perhaps one of the strongest takeaways from today is this: leadership commitment to psychosocial health becomes more visible, not only in moments of comfort, but in moments of challenge. Through the decision leaders make, the behavior they role model, and the environment they create for others to speak up and thrive. One message stands clear is that psychosocial health at work is a conversation that every leaders need to make. Every leaders in the workplace need to have. Creating a safe, respectful, and supportive workplaces require courage, accountability, and collective action from everyone in the organization. Before we conclude, I'd like to invite each of our panelists, again very briefly, to share one sentence of personal wisdom or words of encouragement on what it takes to build and sustain a healthy psychosocial workplace. I will start with Mr. Silas, please.
I played football, and I haven't explained this just now, on a pretty competitive level when I was young. I was 16 and was playing a regional team in the Netherlands. Played with Ronald Koeman in the team. And I remember we would play a game and we would face an opponent that we could see from the warm-up was not as good as we were individually, right? So we thought, it's going to be easy, walk in the park. And he would lose it 4-0, and it often had just simply to do with that team was a team and we were individuals. And psychological safety and the whole social well-being is about team spirit, being part of the team, that everybody joins up, and that when things go wrong, you join up and you make it better. And I think at times when things break down or you make mistakes, it is really important that there is always another day. So nothing is fatal, and you always need to just be resilient in that.
Thank you. For us in the organization, we make it very simple. So every employee should feel safe to communicate. Then also at the same time, they can say and also put opinion without fears, or we don't have to feel negative about them. So we have an open in the conversation. Simple.
Again, I'll pick one of each three of the wisdom that the three panelists. Yeah. I haven't even shared my code of conduct yet. But anyway, look, I it's very simple. I think it's good or psychological safety or psychosocial things that benefits. I think it's built when leaders or management creates that safe space, creates that trust, creates that openness, caring, courage, everything. But don't forget, alongside the well-being part.
Thank you very much to all the panelists for the powerful reminder. Thank you once again to all our distinguished panelists for your openness, insight, and your leadership today. Your honest reflection reminds us that psychosocial health is a leadership responsibility, a workplace culture commitment, and ultimately a shared human responsibility. I would also like to thank our audience for your attention, engagement, and participation. A special note of appreciation goes to the organizing team and everyone working behind the scenes for your dedication and hard work have made today's session possible. Finally, our sincere thanks to Shena for its leadership and continued commitment in championing safe and healthy workplace in Brunei Darussalam, and for providing the platform for these important conversations to take place. May today's conversation not end in this room, but continue in our or your boardrooms, management meetings, policies, and daily leadership action and practices. Because when leaders prioritize psychosocial well-being, they protect workers and their families, strengthen organizations, communities, and ultimately the future of our nation. Let us move beyond intention to leadership action so that safe and healthy workplaces are not just an aspiration but a lived reality across Brunei Darussalam. With that, I would like to formally close this roundtable. Thank you all. Round of applause to our panelists here. Thank you all, and we wish you a pleasant day ahead. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much to our amazing moderator and incredible panelists. With that, ladies and gentlemen, to give tokens of appreciation, I would now like to invite up on the stage once again Yang Mulia Tuan Haji Mohsin bin Haji Ahmad for the token of appreciation presentation.
Thank you. Don't share your HR policy. Thank you.
Firstly, I would like to call upon our incredible moderator, Yang Mulia Puan Umi Khadijah binti Haji Mohd Zaini. Thank you so much. Up next, I would like to call upon Mr. Silas. Thank you so much. Up next, I would like to call upon Mr. Johan Atema. Thank you. And up next, I would like to call upon Yang Mulia Tuan Dr. Sheikh Khalid bin Sheikh Haji Ahmad. Last but not the least, I would like to call upon Yang Mulia Tuan Pengiran Aki Isma Sufyan bin Pengiran Haji Ibrahim. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon our moderator and panelists as well as Yang Mulia Tuan Haji to please take the center stage for the group photo.
I can go that side.
We give a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, to our incredible moderator, panelists, as well as to our amazing CEO, Yang Mulia Tuan Haji Mohsin bin Haji Ahmad. Thank you so much for presenting the token of appreciation. Without further ado...